So at this point, we've discussed a couple of different vitamins, and this is one of the vitamins we haven't mentioned that much about, and this is vitamin A. And if you take a look at the structure of vitamin A, this is classified as a lipid. And if I look at the structure here in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see that it starts off with a ring system, and then there's a conjugated double bond system in place. There's a double single, double single, double single, double single, and it goes on and on and on. Not only that, but I also see these methyl groups, and these methyl groups are attached to a carbon that's involved in a double bond with another carbon. So that's probably symbolic that this is an isoprene unit that's making it up, and it is. These are isoprene units all the way down. And if I take a look at these isoprene units and I count the total number of carbons, I'm going to see a total number of 20. So 20 carbons in total. I know that as well because I look down here at the formula of vitamin A and I see it's C20OH. Okay, so this is the formula, of course, C20. The H's they're leaving off, so that should actually have a number associated with it, and they've left that number off. So don't believe everything that Wikipedia gives you, right? So if I take a look at the 20 total carbons, this is called a diterpene. So vitamin A is a diterpene. It is part of the lipid family, and vitamin A is really coming from or forms the beta carotene, which is a dietary food source, of course, that we've talked about before, forms two molecules of vitamin A. And vitamin A is also known as retinol, and it plays a very important role in vision, of course. So very often when you were younger, your mama probably told you, you better eat your carrots or you'll go blind. Okay, well, the reason that she said that is because these are yellow in color, and most of the time we take a look at yellow, we think of this beta carotene, and beta carotene has a significant role in vision. And beta carotene makes this vitamin A that really plays with the retina of the eyes. The retina of the eye contains what we call cone cells and rod cells. The cone cells are responsible for you seeing color and for your vision in very bright light. And the rod cells are responsible for what we call vision in dim light. So what happens is that in these rod cells, vitamin A is oxidized, and it's oxidized to an aldehyde, and the trans double bond at C11 of that structure is isomerized to a cis double bond. Okay, so we see stereochemistry playing a factor here. This stereochemistry is taking this trans and converting it to cis, and this is how that whole molecule works. And the mechanism for this enzyme catalyzed conversion of cis and trans, well, that can be found in the book if you want to know more about it. This is going to be in the carbonyl section if you want to take a look at it. But the protein opsin, that's what we call the protein, opsin, opsin, uses a lysine side chain at position 216. So we're bringing in amino acids to the description as well. And it forms what we call an imine, and an imine is a functional group that you learned in carbonyl chemistry back last semester, with 11Z retinal. And that results in a compound known as rhodopsin. So when rhodopsin absorbs visible light, the cis double bond isomerizes to the trans isomer, and this change in geometry causes a signal to be sent to the brain where you see it as a visual image. And this is how we see with our eyeballs. Thank you, vitamin A. Thank you, beta carotene. Thank you, opsin and rhodopsin, because without you, I will not be able to see a thing. I won't be able to see how to put those really bad grades in those lab notebooks, will I? So the change in this molecular geometry is the driving force that creates these pictures that our mind interprets, and the trans isomer of rhodopsin is not stable. It is hydrolyzed to 11E which is, Z groups are on Z same side, 11E, they're on opposite sides, and opsin in a reaction referred to as bleaching of the visual pigment. So 11E retinal is then converted back to 11Z retinal, and that completes the vision cycle. So we see this thing go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. If you go to Wikipedia and you type in just vitamin A, you're going to see quite a bit of information about vitamin A and a little bit about the medicinal benefit of vitamin A and why you should include it in your diet. If you want to make sure that you have enough vitamin A in your diet, well, there's a whole list of sources where you can find vitamin A in your food products. So please eat your tomatoes, please drink your milk, please eat your peas and your mangoes and your papayas and your apricots and your cantaloupes and your collard greens. So we're in the South, so there should be no excuse that you shouldn't have a big old pot of collard greens onto the stove. Pumpkin, spinach, kale, butter, broccoli, carrot, sweet potato, dandelion greens, that's fancy, liver, and cod liver oil. I don't know about you, but I actually am very happy with this list of vitamin A food products because a lot of the foods that I personally like are on the list. A lot of people cringe when they think of kale and when they think of spinach and when they think of pumpkin and cantaloupe and apricot and papaya and mango, but I can live off of it. That's all that I need. I don't need the bloody meat. I don't need the protein slab of a chicken breast or a pork chop. That's actually very tummy happy for me and mouth happy as well. So take a look at the food sources. If you want to get those food sources naturally for vitamin A, then this is what you would go to. However, for some people, they might want to take some kind of vitamin A tablet or vitamin A capsule. What else besides vision does vitamin A play a role in? And they actually give you the metabolic functions of vitamin A as well. So vision, of course, is what we've kind of focused on, but gene transcription, we will talk about in nucleic acids and when we begin to talk about DNA and RNA and that type of thing, gene transcription will come around. Immune function, it does have a role with your immune system, how well your body fights off an infection or disease. Embryonic development and reproduction, bone metabolism, you name it, vitamin A plays a very important role in almost everything that we do other than vision. So vision is kind of what it's best known for. And then they go in through a little bit of description about each one of them. What happens if you don't have enough vitamin A in your diet, and how can you supplement the vitamin A in your diet? Not only that, but vitamin A is of course fat soluble, so they do not get dispensed out of your body as easily as a water soluble vitamin does. And if you eat too much vitamin A or take too much vitamin A, like any of the other fat soluble vitamins, you begin to build up this vitamin content, and sometimes this vitamin content can become toxic. So in general, acute toxicity occurs at doses of 25,000 international units per kilogram of body weight. So you got to take quite a bit. So convert your pounds over to kilogram, multiply by 25,000, and that will tell you how many international units of vitamin A that your body should not have. So that's what we call acute toxicity. And then chronic toxicity occurs at 4,000 international units of kilogram for 6 to 15 months in total. So if you do have a high intake of vitamin A and your body stores it for 6 to 15 months, we call this chronic toxicity, and we can get some other drawbacks as far as vitamin A content goes with that. Most of the time these vitamins affect liver and these vitamins affect kidneys, so it's not uncommon to see liver problems or kidney problems if you have these really high intakes of vitamins. So keep that in mind. I mean, a lot of these people will go out and they will buy these vitamin pills and they will pop them left and right as much as they can, vitamin because they think that they're doing their body some good. But actually, these fat-soluble containing molecules, they begin to get built up in your body, and if your body doesn't use them, you're going to start to have very high levels of them over and over and over, and you're doing your body more damage than you are anything else. So a good multivitamin, that should be good enough. Don't go overboard and go crazy and pop 7 or 8 vitamin A pills or 7 or 8 vitamin E pills because you want your wrinkles to go away or because you want your vision to go better. Excessive vitamin A can lead to nausea, irritability, anorexia, vomiting, blurry vision, actually, headaches, hair loss, maybe that's what happened to me, muscle and abdominal pain and weakness, drowsiness, and altered mental status. I don't know about you, but it sounds kind of like exam week to me, right? Nausea, irritability, blurry vision, vomiting, hair loss. That's exam week. That's not vitamin A consumption. In chronic cases, hair loss, dry skin, drying of the mucous membranes, fever, insomnia, fatigue, weight loss, bone fractures, anemia, and diarrhea can all be evident on top of the symptoms associated with less serious toxicity. So again, vitamins, yeah, they're good, but sometimes people begin to abuse them. They take too much of them, and this is one of those things where we've got to be really, really careful of how we treat our diet and how we supplement our diet with these quote-unquote healthy vitamins. So we can go through and talk a little bit about how terpenes are biosynthesized, how they're made, how our body makes them, how our body handles them, and this is typically covered in a true biochemistry course. However, again, we're just really going to focus on structure. We're only going to focus on molecules and what they do, and this is where we're going to end our discussion on terpenes. Now, depending on how old you are, you maybe grew up with something very special in your medicine cabinet, and this is how we're going to end the terpene lecture, but this very special elixir, that's what I'm going to call it, an elixir, was called turpentine. So, you know, very early on, many, many years ago, it wasn't uncommon for a family to hold a bottle of turpentine in their medicine cabinet, in their bathroom, somewhere in their home, because it was a cure-all. And turpentine is a terpene, right? Who would have ever guessed? Turpentine is a terpene. And the word turpentine is a little bit of French and Latin inspired. And the turpentine comes from an actual tree, a turpentine tree, and this turpentine tree is very similar to a pistachio tree, at least a family of it is. And then down here in this picture, here's the structure of turpentine, by the way, and then down here in this picture you will see some people chopping away at some turpentine trees. So I know that this is a terpene because look, here's a methyl group, and this methyl group is on a carbon that has a double bond to another carbon, and I can kind of count through the total number of terpenes and the total number of carbons that I have and classify it if I want. But turpentine is used for a number of different things. It's used in home and it's used in industry as well. In industry, it's commonly used as a solvent. These were solvents and organic starting materials for various synthesis that we would like to do in the laboratory. It's also found, or it used to be found, in paint that was oil-based. So these oil-based paints are more organic-y than your latex paints or your water-based paints. You know, these are the paints that can't really wash off with water and soap. If you get this paint on you, good luck, because a lot of people take gasoline and rub it off that way. But turpentine was used for thinning oil-based paints, to put in varnishes. They've mixed it with wax to make wood finishes and wood polishes. Medicinal elixirs, this is where your homes come in. So they used to make you swig it to get rid of the worms that you might had when you were young. They could mix it with some kind of lard to rub it on your chest, and it would turn into like a homemade Vicks vapor rub. And sometimes these vapor rubs are still using turpentine in them if you look on the ingredient list. Not only that, but You also saw it was a common medicine among seamen during the Age of Discovery. And turpentine can also be used to sanitize products as well because it has a natural antiseptic property to it and a clean scent. So this is the story with turpentine and turpentine. In the next video, we'll